we're going down. Now, if that goes down, they keep raising interest rates, all those bonds will crash because, who wants a 5% bond when you get a 10% bond? And the rumor is, this is according to Andy Schectman, a long shot is this: Japan may join the BRICS, Brazil, India. And what will happen is then, instead of a bailout, bailouts what happened with Lehman Brothers in 2008. Andy Schectman says this is called the 3 times crash. All paper assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs crash. Real estate's going to crash. And this is going to crash, the US dollar.
At the beginning of the month, Robert Kiyosaki made a tweet predicting bank runs and frozen money and other bail-ins, pleading with his followers to buy silver coins and be prepared for what was coming. Fast forward to several days ago, we've had 3 major bank crashes, frozen money, and consequently, bail-ins are rolling as well, just as Kiyosaki predicted. Aside from the March 1st Twitter prediction, Kiyosaki has also released a series of tweets regarding the state of the economy. He talks about the Inflation Reduction Act, which he comments is trash and is just crushing the poor and middle class. 3 days ago, he also tweeted that 2 major banks has gone down and there are 3 left to go. Whether this is a prediction of new crashes or not is yet to be confirmed. He further urged his followers to buy gold and silver as the only safety net. He also commented regarding the bailout of Silicon Valley Bank announced by Biden, saying that Biden must be on crack to think that it wouldn't affect taxpayers. Also, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley attacked President Biden on Monday over what she called a bailout of Silicon Valley Bank. He talks about the reverse repo and why it would soon become the order of the day as banks would be forced to give back bonds and treasuries to the Fed because they do not want it anymore. A reverse repo is a financial transaction where one party sells securities to another party with an agreement to buy them back at a slightly higher price later. It's used to earn interest on excess funds and provide liquidity. It's commonly used by central banks to manage the money supply and control short-term interest rates. In today's video, Kiyosaki talks about the predictions he made and why they are still valid. He also talks about unemployment, debt, and where inflation is headed. Sit back and enjoy the video. And don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications.
But what's happening is that, so the BRICS nation are coming, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now Saudi Arabia coming after us. What's happening is that in 2017, the BIS, Bank of International Settlements, made gold tier 1 asset. See, up until then, the U.S. Treasury was tier 1 assets. So the whole world is filled with U.S. treasuries and bonds. And as you and I have talked over the years, I don't like treasuries and bonds, and because they're fake. So what's going to happen is when they keep raising interest rates, those treasuries they're becoming worthless. Let's say you have a treasury at 5% or a bond at 5%, and the interest rates go to 10%. Going to collapse the system. So like Japan, which has had quantitative easing for years and years and years and years now, is filled with U.S. treasuries. So is China. So is the Fed. And so what just started to happen, a few months, 2017 again, there was a reverse repo. And a reverse repo was what happened just before 2008 in America. And a reverse repo is very simply this: is what happens is the Fed will give money to, let's say, a tier 1 bank, like let's say Bank of America. A reverse repo is this. So if a Fed gives money to Bank of America, that's called a repo. So they're backing up Bank of America. A reverse repo is Bank of America and all the tier 1 banks give it back to the Fed. They don't want the money. They don't want the bond. And it's not they don't want the bond. When they give the money, when the bank, let's say Bank of America, gives the money back to the Fed, that's saying we don't want to lend money anymore. Bank of America, when they give all those treasuries back or the bonds back to the Fed, people will run on Bank of America, and Bank of America will say, so you and I go to the bank and say, we want our money back. We want our savings back. And Bank of America says, our door is shut because there's a run on the bank. But guess what? Instead of your cash or your savings, we'll give you back stock in Bank of America. That's a bail-in. Now, I hope it doesn't happen, but that's what I was writing about. So as you know, I'm a huge gold, silver nut. And I would rather have silver right now, which is the biggest bargain in world history today. It's the real estate was my generation's investment because it was debt. For your generation, it's silver because it's right today in America, it's cost me $30 to buy a silver eagle. $30. This stuff is trash. This is trash here. Cash is trash. So that's a bail in, bail out. That's what happens. You have a repo and a reverse repo. So the reverse repo is the banks are giving back the money to the Fed. We don't want it.
The U.S. economy added 311,000 jobs in February, above market estimates, while the unemployment rate rose to 3.6%, the Labor Department announced on Friday. The market expectation for non-farm payrolls was a 205,000 gain in February. Job additions for January were revised down by 13,000, from 517,000 to 504,000, according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The unemployment rate rose to 3.6% in February, from 3.4% in January, while the market estimate for it was to come in at 3.4%. The number of unemployed people in the U.S. also increased in February, climbing to 5.9 million, from 5.7 million the month before. Kiyosaki talks about the job market, unemployment levels, and most importantly, inflation, and why he strongly believes that inflation is here to stay.
I think it's here to stay for a while. And the reason is it's not that they printed, trillions after COVID. But the real reason is what was the first act that Communist Joe Biden did? His first act was he cut off the Keystone XL pipeline from Canada to America. And I sell oil. I don't oil. I don't. I used to be an oil tanker officer for Standard Oil. I don't touch paper assets. I don't touch stocks, bonds. I wouldn't buy an Exxon stock. I wouldn't buy Standard Oil stock or Chevron, whatever they call it now. I buy the physical oil. And my oil wells are in Dakota, North Dakota, Louisiana, and Texas. And so I was selling oil. Biden comes to office. My friend Donald Trump, Trump and I've written 2 books together. He's a good friend of mine. And what happened is when Biden took office, his first act was to cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, again, running from Alberta to America. I was selling oil down that day for $30 a barrel on the spot exchange, as you know. That day went to $130 a barrel. When that happened, I knew what Biden was up to, or the communists are up to. By the way, this is one of the first books I read at school. It's called The Communist Manifesto. I read this in 1965, went to the Academy in New York. Anyway, as soon as Biden cut off the Keystone, oil went from 30 to 130 a barrel. Immediately, I knew what he was doing. They're crushing the poor and middle class. So this is the irony of it, David. Guys like me get richer. So, you sell oil from $30, also get 130. I almost voted for Biden after that one. I said, thank you, Joe. But then I realized what he's doing. He's going to crush the poor and middle class. And that sets us up for revolution, David. Well, Jobs stands for just over broke because of taxes. Who pays the highest taxes? That was my second book, Cash Flow Quadrant. Employees around the world, David, employees pay 40% in tax around the world. The second are self-employed or small business entrepreneurs or doctors and lawyers, self-employed. They pay 60%. Big business guys like me pay 20%, and hardcore inside investors like me pay 0%. We don't pay taxes. That's why when Trump was running for office against Hillary, and Hillary said to him, well, we don't pay taxes. And Trump says, because I'm smart. The reason I don't pay taxes is simply because, there's 3 types of income: earned, portfolio, passive. Passive income is 0%. Portfolio is 20%. That's when you flip stocks, you flip real estate. And earned is when you work for money, like a doctor, a lawyer, or an employee. That's 40%. So it's just common sense. You just check the tax rates. I wrote that in Cash Flow Quadrant, my second book.
Kiyosaki calls the US dollar fake money because it is backed by the full faith and credit of the US government instead of being tied to real money, such as gold, as he previously explained. The renowned author has long advised investing in gold, silver, and Bitcoin, which he recently touted as the best for unstable times. In a recent warning, he predicted that everything will crash. In December of last year, he suggested that investing in gold, silver, and Bitcoin would lead to riches when the Fed pivots and prints trillions of dollars. Earlier this month, he cautioned that the world economy is on the verge of collapse, warning of bank runs, frozen savings, and bail-ins. Prior to the shutdown of Signature Bank, he predicted that another bank was set to crash. In January, he said we are in a global recession, warning of soaring bankruptcies, unemployment, and homelessness. With a series of predictions going right, it's worth that attention is paid to what is happening in the economy and logical actions are taken to prevent being burned badly. We are obligated to keep bringing unbiased and authentic financial news to you, and to make sure you don't miss out on this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also give us a like and turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.